Once a week. One that we're going to go over the next 3 weeks. We're going to start.
Yeah, the financial game plan, the healthcare game plan, and also the survivor planning game plan, right?
That's right.
And also, and if we do have some time, we're also going to get to our Smart Choices About Your Healthcare, sponsored by our friends at Coventry Healthcare of Missouri and at the company, because we talked a lot about healthcare already today.
We have.
Right. So, Aaron, why don't you start us off?
Joe and Sally came to see us.
Uh-huh.
Joe's a former union member. Sally's a nurse.
Nice.
Joe's 62. He's retired. He's already drawing his Social Security, and he is already elected to take his pension.
Okay.
So he's basically in heaven right now.
Life
and he looked
it
when he came in to see us.
Uh-huh.
Sally's 62 and a half, so just a little bit older than Joe. She's currently working as a nurse, and she has absolutely no plans to retire. She made that very clear. No plans.
Well, we met her husband.
That's right. So she said.
Understand why.
So she said, less husband, more money.
Right. Exactly.
So they had 2 questions when they came to see us. Now, this was Joe's question, the first one.
Right.
How soon can Sally retire?
He wanted his woman back. But she was like,
no, thank you.
It was funny because she was like, we're not having any of that. Really, it was funny. She looked at me and she goes,
No.
Not retire.
Oh, poor Joe.
Exactly. Well, she's a woman that knows what she wants, so she obviously wanted Joe at one point.
And actually what also really the thing that primarily instigated the whole process was
the second question.
Right, which was how do we quickly liquidate the debts that we have today, because they like to go into retirement debt-free.
Relatively debt-free, exactly.
Right.
So just to give everyone a snapshot of their picture of their life, Sally is currently bringing home about $1,800 a month net.
Right.
She's contributing to both a traditional 401k that her employer matches and a Roth 401k that her employer doesn't match, but it's nice that she has access to that alternative.
Right.
Joe is currently bringing home $1,300 a month in Social Security and $3,300 a month in pension benefit. They're a 2-bucket family. So Joe takes care of certain bills, Sally takes care of certain bills. Their math is working really well right now.
We were confused, but they aren't.
They are not confused at all. And to speak of the debts that they talked about, currently they have a variety of different debt. They have mortgage debt, they have some credit card debt, they have a home equity line of credit. But what their primary desire is to get the non-mortgage debt paid off as fast as they can. And that's about $20,000.
Yes, and I think what it came down to in our discussion with them was how they were saving.
And where.
Right. Because in this particular case, Joe was taking care of a few things. He was really sort of filling up the emergency fund bucket, which had been drained because of some
remodeling that they were doing.
Exactly. And Sally was, again, trying to pay these off. She was doing it slowly, but she's also putting in a fair amount of money into this Roth 401k.
That's right. So she was contributing to both the traditional 401k that the employer was matching,
right.
But she was also contributing $600 a month $600, yeah, that's right, a month to a Roth 401k. So first of all, that's not tax deductible. It grows tax deferred, but
right.
When you put it in, that's not a tax deduction. And secondly, there's no employer match associated with that.
Yeah, and the last thing was, and we were sort of sitting together and talking about this, because she's an active participant in this plan,
right.
And she wants to continue to be an active participant in the plan.
Because she's still working.
She can't get the money out.
Unless she borrows it.
Right, which there's no way she would do it.
How annoying to have to borrow your own money.
So the problem was there's sort of, how do we pay this? And the answer in this case was stop putting money into your plan. And here's why, right? Because and go through the rationale, Aaron.
Okay, so they're paying $1,500 a month towards these debt services, which is great. But when you're putting that $600 into your Roth 401k, like Dad, you just mentioned, one, it's not tax deductible, so it's a straight $600 in the Roth or in your pocket.
Right.
Secondly, there's no employer match, so you're not getting any free money out of this. But third, when you put it in, if you have to borrow it out to get it, you really created some liquidity problems for yourself. So
yeah.
What the benefit is if you decide instead of contributing that Roth money, take the money home, we can bump up your monthly payments by a half.
Right.
which means you're paying it off at a pretty nice clip already. $20,000 of debt for at $1,500 a month is 14 to 16 months. You could cut that down by another several months.
And what's interesting is that, as you can imagine, and I'm sure some of the listeners are thinking, well, that's counterintuitive, right?
I was like, no, I can't stop saving.
No, I can't stop saving. Well, what happened was we didn't tell you about the back end, which I think we need to do. We found out, as we mentioned, that Sally's currently bringing home about $1,800 per month. When she goes to retire, her Social Security benefit is going to run gross $2,100 a month. So net, she's going to be at basically around $1,800 a month.
She completely covered over her pay with Social Security.
Right. Exactly. So the neat part here is that we also didn't mention that she has several $100,000. She's been a good saver inside of her 401k plan. She has a little bit in the Roth, which is going to really be free money. So why keep putting money in and locking it up where you can't get it out and paying interest, which you don't want to, when you're going to be a rock star in the back end anyways?
But that's a really hard, and just like with
That's
Sally.
That's hard to get. That's kind of hard to get. We had to put it up on the board and go through the whole cash flow where they could really see that when she does stop at 66, they're going to be fine in terms of retirement income cash flow, but they still had that debt over there.
And also
that was their concern.
And the nice thing that we talked about, and I think this makes it very easy for people too, it's the same idea. Should I pay off the mortgage or not? How much money do we need as a lump sum to be able to generate enough money to send you on a monthly basis? So if we have a lump sum of capital and we're going to use a prudent rate of withdrawal of 4%, how much money do we need in order to generate that monthly payment for you?
How much capital do we need?
Right. So at a $1,500 a month payment, we're going to need $450,000 worth of capital at cash flowing at 4% in order to generate that payment for you.
Right.
So $20,000 of debt versus $450,000 of capital to service the debt.
What do you kill?
What would you rather keep? Your money. So
right. So it's kind of obvious. So what would happen is that our discussion with her was this: at the end of the day, if you have this money that's over there and you haven't paid off your debt, we can certainly cash flow it out. Okay? We can do it quickly, either through the Roth, or we could do it, which wouldn't be a taxable event, or we can pull it from her IRAs and then she'll be tax-free. Alternatively, if you want to do it faster, and maybe to encourage you possibly to retire earlier if that's something you decide that you want to do or have to do for whatever reason, stop your contributions, use the money then, and pay it off from that side. So what's interesting is that, these folks aren't going to be clients right away. But what they are going to do is keep in touch with us. We love to hear these stories because I have a feeling that they're probably going to do a little of each.
Because
they'll start paying off a little bit, but they'll keep a little bit. And
this is all about comfort, really, because when we do the math, we're like, you guys are great. Your cash flow is taken care of because we already know Joe's fine. All of his income is already fixed, and they're living comfortably off of it. Sally's current paycheck is going to be entirely replaced by Social Security. So when we look at the numbers, we think this is perfect. But Sally and Joe still felt like they had something to work towards because they didn't like the idea of retiring with debt, even if they had the ability to service it at the current rate.
Yeah, and I think what was important is that for them was that they couldn't see this other solution because they were so close to the situation. Right. Once they took this into account, they thought,
not a bad idea.
Not a bad idea, but I'm going to be interested in 6 months to see where they are in terms of their mission.
Mission.
Right. Have they reduced? I mean, did she change it? Did she reduce it? And the other factor we didn't talk about in detail here was she was also eligible to participate in a HSA.
The best kept secret.
Exactly.
Of the IRS.
There you go. So in reality, what we were going to try to get her to do was to change her saving pattern altogether, which was instead of going to Roth, go to HSA. Because that's even the better. So whatever you're going to do the Roth, even if you're not going to use it all, take some of it, go to the HSA.
And Sally had an even more interesting wrinkle because her company, and not many plans offer this, but her plan offered a flexible spending account and a health savings account. And as you know, flexible spending accounts, you have to use the money in the year that you contribute it or you lose it. With HSA accounts, you get to keep the money forever to use for medical expenses. So which one would you choose? But unfortunately, it wasn't explained to her that way in the employee meeting. So
yeah, every day you go HSA, right?
The no-brainer.
I mean, you're not going to do use it or lose it. When you could do use it or don't use it and don't lose it.
And also HSAs have higher contribution limits than flexible spending accounts.
And
so
usually they're also invested. You
right.
can also choose investment options behind those because health savings accounts are really,
flexible spending accounts are really for the year.
It's in and out.
Also, HSAs and flexible spending is also another kind of territory that is very somewhat confusing to individuals.
Right.
I don't think individuals who even have it offered at their employer truly understand it.
And that was the whole thing with the timing, as you said, Aaron, and we had our caller earlier. If you don't have to do anything,
don't
elect A, don't elect B, don't do anything if you don't have to, because what happens is, our earlier caller, she turned off the faucet on the HSA eligibility contribution, which was, what is it, $3,800?
Oh yeah, it's $3,400 for the year, and then I think another $1,000 catch up.
Plus, and then you can obviously double that for a spouse.
Mm-hmm.
So she turned off that avenue, and she's still working.
Right.
Which is really too bad. It's just one of those things. So again, our friends are Rockstars. What was neat is
Joe
that,
and Sally.
Right, Joe and Sally. When we sat down and we laid this out for them, they could see that from their cash flow.
They were going to be fine.
They were going to be in a good place. The question just became, okay, how do we clean up debts?